This is going to be an analysis of my 29th race. This is back in Tameside. Week 8 of the series, so yeah, we'll get into it. Lighter field on the day, as the previous week. But yeah, managed to pick up fifth, so getting best result in the 2-3-4 so far. So yeah, relatively happy. But let's have a look at what we did on the day. Again, I was able to win the preem lap at halfway, which was good. Like I said, it's like a practice sprint for the sprint finish. It's putting yourself in that situation of when to go, when to sit in the wheels, and basically learn how to launch a good attack. So yes, it's not as intense as the finish itself, but it's still a good opportunity to learn that positioning. So end up my positioning going into so we 40 lap race and preem laps at halfway. So my positioning going into that preem lap was pretty good. So moved my way to the front, so third wheel, second wheel. And I was kind of second wheel coming into the preem lap, and out of the hairpin here, we always end up sprinting out the hairpin. So this is just my best 1 minute effort from the race. So absolutely launch it out the hairpin, and then I think I must have come round the rider. But yeah, I kept rider in first. So then kept on the gas down here, got the speed really high, and then just held my own through the corner, on the gas out the corner, and then on the gas into the finishing straight. And I've had daylight behind me tonight, that night, and was last week. And yeah, managed to hold on for the preem, which was good. And then after the preem, what can typically happen after the preem, because basically people are launching big attacks to try and win the preem, is the counter attacks that happen after that are really intense. So getting back involved after that can be really difficult. But thankfully I had a bit of a gap off the front, so I was just able to. I didn't sit up. I kept working. So, but obviously wanted to recover from the preem, so just kept it nice and steady. While bugging out. But yeah, kept it nice and steady on the front, and then it got brought back together. So I wasn't getting counter attacked immediately after the preem, and if that was the case, then I'd had a little bit of a rest to calm down from that. So yeah, in terms of the day, like still probably working too hard, but I say I am getting better each week as to hopping on the wheels quicker. I wasn't spending much time on the front. After the preem lap, I was back in the pack, just trying to ascertain what was going on, and try and sit in for the sprint finish, try and do the same thing at the finish. Yeah, it wasn't. I felt like I was doing good at conserving energy, and if you look at the heart rate was super low for this activity. So I've recorded I've got all the data from my crit races, and 152 ppm for a 1 hour crit is like the lowest I've ever had. But what I found during that week was, I think that was a bit of a false flag. Like the heart rate being that low wasn't a good thing. And a potential symptom of overtraining. So definitely wasn't my best for this race. So I was able to get up to 177 ppm on the day, but I think that general low heart rate isn't necessarily a sign of like stupidly good fitness, and it was potentially just a sign of overtraining. But even still, like the fact the heart rate was coming down this much into the 140s meant that I was saving a lot of energy and I was being sensible. And there was I think the group was 6 riders at this point, so I was just in that group, probably mainly spending time at the back, I guess, fifth, sixth wheel, and yeah, just thinking, okay, can I try and win this thing? And I don't know if I ever thought it. I was thinking that obviously I'd attacked out the hairpin and kept rolling on the front. I'm like, oh, I can't do that again. I'll have to attack at a different point. And that led me into, okay, the only way for me to, if you don't attack through the chicane section, you have to just attack at the sprint finish. So tonight it was deciding, okay, we're gonna try and sit in for the sprint finish, because I haven't done that before. I haven't just tried to sit in and try and come around people in the sprint finish. So that's what I did, and so I was sixth wheel coming into the sprint finish, and gave it a good dig, but Um, it's basically just too tight and short a circuit to make anything happen if your positioning's not good enough, really. So the fact I was in sixth wheel, I was able to come round the guy in fifth, so I got fifth on the day, but like I wasn't able to come round the other guys because yeah, their positioning coming into the straight was just too good. And I was just way too far back to do anything. Like, doesn't matter what you can throw down in the sprint. Like, the positioning was way too important. I was trying something new, just being at the back and be like, okay, can I sit in for a sprint here? But sitting in for a sprint also involves being in really good position, and the positioning just wasn't there. Like, it's the balance of two factors. So I was able to come past one rider who was fading, coming into the finish, but yeah, that was it. I wasn't able to catch up to the guys to contest the win. So the key is going to be either going at an opportune moment, attacking either out the hairpin works, attacking here works, and then holding on, attacking with a lap to go. The guy who ended up winning this week, last week, he was on the front with one to go and managed to hold people off, but I've tried that before. It's really hard going that, and I think you'd have to rail the corners a bit harder than I do. Take a risk that I'm not really willing to. Um, so I think for me, the best chances to go attacking out the hairpin. Just you have to sprint anyway, but just get on the gas harder than everyone else really. Um, Attacking in this straight section after the chicane, and then holding on the front, or just being in like really good position coming into the finish, like second, third, maybe fourth wheel, and having that momentum to come round people in the sprint finish. But if you're too far back, like I was this week, like yeah, it's just not happening. And but yeah, good to know. Good to recognise that now. It depends on the circuit. Like if it's a long, big straightaway, like that's you want to be. You're not going. It's not going to be an issue being so far back in the sprint. Whereas here, you don't have much time to come around, so you need to be up there already. Going to be an analysis of my 30th crit race. This is back at Darley Moor. Yeah, so longer circuit, big straightaways, opportunities to send big attacks and put some digs in to get some separation, like I was able to do last time I was here. But yeah, racing. Last time I was racing, it was a free fall race. It was always a big field at Darley Moor, like 40 riders or so plus. And this race being a Cat 2 free fall, so it was the highest level race I'd done so far at Darley, and yeah, it didn't disappoint. Like decently fast because it was very very windy, so super strong headwind here, which meant that you were uh, going down to like sub 30k an hour at points. If I was on the front, like we were going less than 30k an hour, and I was on the front a fair bit just because um, uh, either people looking at me to try and bring stuff back or quite what. But yeah, good race. It was hard and fast from the get go, and yeah, part of me's been still trying to be as efficient and as possible and conserve energy. But in this race, I was sending lots of attacks and trying to get established in a breakaway. So yeah, good average power, 360, almost 400 normalized. That's because I was attacking, counter attacking, bringing back breaks when I try to solo bridge them and then end up dragging the peloton with me, as like so many motivated riders within this peloton of 40, where you'd attack. The odds of someone hopping on your wheel were so high that you'd end up doing work on the front, and then uh, you'd string out the peloton to try and to end up chasing back the breakaway. Attacks rolling from the start all the way until the end. And yeah, like I say, I was jumping, getting in breaks and such, but none of them held out really, and they all got brought back. And then decisive split happened in the last quarter of the race or so, and I unfortunately did miss that. And I was kind of happy to maybe work with some of the riders in the remaining peloton to try and bring them back. Ideally, I had to get across myself, but that wasn't happening. But yeah, just there'd just be too many counterattacks from the peloton, and when someone counterattacks, like they're off the front by themselves, and like it would be more efficient to try and get in their wheel, so they counter attack and you attack to them, and yeah, it just meant there was no cohesion between the peloton, and we just yeah, we weren't making any inroads on the break of 6 up the road, and I felt like I was being stuck on the front a fair bit, just to as I was, you know, obviously a strong rider, motivated rider, and but when I was stuck on the front, like especially coming into these headwind sections, it's like, yeah, I'm not. I'll keep on the gas. Like I'll still ride tempo, but yeah, I'm not gonna burn all my matches here for no reason. So I was just happy to let the speed go down. Like the brake doesn't come back, it doesn't come back. End up finding myself on the front in the last lap, which like I said, I wasn't working hard, but it did end up meaning that I got swarmed because the guys came around me into the headwind section with a lot more speed than I had. The fact that they have the momentum, it's so much harder to slot on their wheel. So yeah, I did get a bit swarmed in that final lap, and loads of guys came around me. Low burner sprint, picking up the speed, keeping the speed high. But yeah, and was coming around loads of people in the sprint finish. But again, just positioning was the main thing, and it was because I'd got swarmed on that final lap that I just wasn't in position to do anything. Because like there's still with a break of 6 end up winning, there's still points available for a top 10, and it's just nice to aim for the top 10, So I should have just focused up and been like, okay, we try and win the sprint from the peloton, as that would still be a good learning experience. Like just treating it like, okay, it could have been just like a sprint from the peloton if the whole field had stayed together. But yeah, just I felt like I was doing the right thing when I was on the front, because I'd just been like stuck on the front, like you're on the front, mate, and like, yes, part of you is like, oh, you should just completely sit up, but I'm just like, I'm tapping away. I'm not wasting energy really. Um, I'm keeping the speed high enough that I can respond somewhat to attacks, but it's so easy to like, oh yeah, just be fifth wheel. Not everyone can be fifth wheel. One person can be fifth wheel, and someone gets shafted with the bad positioning. And yes, it feels like that probably ends up being me more often than not. Um, just because I'm not going to really complain about it when it happens. It's just like, oh shit, I guess I'm here. I guess I'm going to try and work with this situation. Um, and the thing is, like, I should be able to get myself out of these situations and like make it work anyway. Yeah, obviously, positioning would have been is the main thing for this as well. Like, yeah, just getting swarmed on that final lap was just not ideal, and just meant I wasn't able to contest in the sprint. But yeah, I mean, even before that, like I can't complain with how I raced it before. Like I was working hard to try and get moves established and get established in moves. Um, so I was just racing hard, and didn't come away with any points or any top 10 at the end of the day. Probably came in 15th, I reckon, something like that. I was definitely in the top half, because I was coming around loads of people in the sprint finish. First 2, 3, 4 race with really big field like this. So yeah, that was a good experience as well. 2, 3, 4 sprint race, that is. And my heart rate came up to 181, which is good because I'd been worried about my low heart rate this week as a potential symptom of overtraining. So maybe that's partly why I wanted to attack so much. I wanted to get the heart rate up. So like it was a good outing in terms of heart rate. So like 168 average for it has been higher, but still good going. That's working hard.